Welcome to Pirates Parley, episode 8. This week I have the Solana superstar from the amazing LiFi team, and we're gonna learn everything there is to know about bridges and some more stuff. Please give a big round of applause for Justin. Yay! How you doing?
Yeah, pretty good. Thank you. Thanks for the invite and the intro. That was very kind. And it's great to be here.
Thanks for being on. I know today was a challenge because you had to go to the dentist, which sucks. But for the people who don't know you, why don't you tell a little bit about yourself? And let's go from there.
Yeah, for sure. So my name's Justin. I'm the Solana ecosystem manager at LiFi. Today I might be talking with a little bit of a lisp. My left side of my face is very numb right now. So I manage all things ecosystem at LiFi. Sit somewhere between product, business development. Also manage our validators. So that's sort of my role within LiFi. And LiFi itself is actually we've been around for about 5 years now. We are traditionally a bridge index aggregator, essentially surfacing one API to get you from sort of any chain, doing cross-chain swaps, pretty much any token from any chain, making sure that interoperability is sort of the smoothest, the most efficient it can be. We've got some pretty exciting new things that we've been developing this year, which I'm sure we'll jump into throughout this podcast. That's me, and that's LiFi.
So, how long has LiFi, or is it LiFi, been around?
Yeah.
All right. So, for how long?
Since 2021, it was founded. It's been around 4 or 5 years now. We've been really sort of hell bent on making interoperability as easy as it can be. We essentially aggregate every single major bridge, DEX, different liquidity sources, just to make sure, just to provide the best experience for people moving cross-chain. So if you haven't sort of heard of us before, there's a good chance that you have actually interacted with us previously. We integrated into Phantom, MetaMask, Ledger, sort of Robinhood wallets, so sort of all the major venues and different wallets use us for the cross-chain infra. So there's a good chance you've actually interacted with us before. And this year we've sort of taken a slight turn. We're starting to release a couple of a completely new product suite. And it's really, really exciting times. So we're sort of moving towards with this goal of essentially unifying every single different market. So with all of the TradFi coming on chain, all the real world assets, this sort of intersection between TradFi and DeFi is sort of getting very blurry and sort of unified. And we are looking to sort of be that API to unify all of that together and be that sort of that cohesion between the two.
And if I understand it correctly, you're the Solana guy basically at LiFi. Is there like a huge difference? Because we're diving right in. Is there a big difference in institutional interest, RWAs, traditional finance, Nasdaq on chain, basically, between Solana and other ecosystems? Is there, or is it leveled out? Can you share a bit about that? Because you have more vision on that than I do.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's obviously historically been a lot more capital and sort of call it trust within the Ethereum and EVM ecosystems. So that's been very interesting to sort of see all of these new chains sort of coming online and sort of gaining a lot of traction and seeing how sort of capital is shifting between them. But if you look at all the charts and everything, sort of Ethereum is still sort of that golden child. So in terms of that side of things, I think, the playing fields are starting to level. But in terms of the institutional sort of interest, we see a lot of different interest in different chains for different reasons. So I'm sure you're at Breakpoint now. I actually saw you at Breakpoint. There was so many institutions there talking about Solana and how they're deploying there. When you get sort of these other companies and big institutions launching their own chains, very specific to different settlement or sort of privacy layers to these blockchains. They don't want a completely public ledger sometimes. So it's very interesting to see how it's going to shake out. But I think sort of standing from where I am, I see that there's a lot of interest in all the different chains for different reasons. And yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting to see sort of where this all comes out. You know, we kind of all agree that we see major banks, major payment providers all coming on chain, and it's just sort of to see how that happens, which I'm really interested in.
And are, you know, these banks and institutional players, are they also interested in what you guys are doing? Because basically, if, you know, they want to expand their business, they have to be on multiple blockchains, basically, and you guys enable that because you guys aggregate, you know, bridges, so you can send funds from Ethereum to Solana, and you guys look what the most efficient route is. Is that a good way of putting it, or?
Exactly. Yeah. So I think where we're really strong is that we aggregate every single major player. So for these guys who are coming in, I think for institutions as well as people who are quite new to crypto, we're like really strong because they don't necessarily know all the best players that they need to go and check the prices for each of these different bridges, each of these different dexes. So essentially for any of these guys coming on chain, we provide one API that accesses every bit of DeFi liquidity there is. We make the interoperability between the chains really, really easy. So they needing to move funds across, we will surface various different quotes from all the different providers with different routes, and they'll be able to choose what route they want to execute through. So I think that's really strong. So I think we have got a lot of deals with sort of big institutions, and yeah, that's definitely a major focus of ours at the moment. Something that we're also really interested in is intents and different solver networks. So for a lot of the custodians as well, they're actually not able to interact with various dexes and dex pools because they can't verify the source of that liquidity. So what intents do is that we can actually onboard different solvers into solving for our routing that have KYB liquidity. So then they can start doing sort of more, you know, price discovery on dexes. They can get access to more assets that aren't necessarily sitting on centralized exchanges that sort of these solvers can hold inventory for. So that's a really interesting sort of development, and there's a lot of interest there from the different custodians. They all want access to all these different tokens, but they actually can't get them yet. So having these systems where, you know, you've got your traditional bridges and now you've got your intent-based bridges, and there's more and more interest in market makers coming into that system that can provide these assets for these big players.
That's wild. I remember back when you guys started, that was also like the starting point of my crypto journey. And, you know, when I came into the ecosystem on Solana, I didn't even know like what a blockchain really was. And I didn't really understand why I couldn't buy, you know, Shiba Inu on this blockchain because that was a popular token. And, you know, since then I had to learn so much. Basically, you guys are solving that issue for new people onboarding because you can swap anything against anything because you guys are like the everything market, basically.
Yeah, I think that was one of the big sort of driving factors for what LiFi wanted to do initially. There was so much fragmentation between different chains, and there was a big push to just abstract that all away and have sort of a unified interface that you can see all of your assets across different chains. You can swap them, you can move them, especially for something like a neobank. You know, you've got a lot of these neobanks targeting customers who have never interacted with crypto before. And they don't necessarily want to see 5 different chains in their wallets and see where all of their funds are and really understand the complexities behind it. So that whole piece of that abstracting away that complexity is where this vision has been, you know, like abstracting away different chains that sort of sit behind these big universal markets that we're moving towards. So yeah, that's really been a big driver for us. And also probably introduces our new product, which is our Composer, pretty well. So maybe we should dive into that for a little bit.
Tell me about what Composer is. I'm eager to learn.
Awesome. Yeah. So another issue that we saw is that there is a lot of fragmentation between the different yield opportunities. First of all, across different protocols and then across different chains. So if you sort of wanted to interact with the Morpho Vault, there could be very good opportunities on a different chain to what you're on. So we sort of, with this in mind and sort of a couple of other angles to it, we've built out a new sort of system called Composer, which is essentially a virtual machine led by Leo and Rory, absolute legends within LiFi. But essentially what Composer allows you to do is to orchestrate various different on-chain actions together. So if you are sitting with, sort of a manifestation of this is our new Jumper Earn product. If you go onto the Jumper Earn interface, you can scroll through all the different markets and you can see yield opportunities across Ethereum, Katana, Plasma. So we sort of make all of those DeFi opportunities available, and then you can one-click stake or one-click deposit into those protocols from wherever you are. So we can bundle together different bridges, swaps, and deposits into one transaction, or one-click flow for the user. And this is sort of going through our Composer engine, which really has sort of made that accessibility a lot better, because now going into this neobank example again, people coming on, they don't really know what these opportunities are. They don't know how to get there. They don't know how to deposit or sort of, verify a contract and then do all these multiple steps in these different transactions. And now they can come on and see one unified interface. They see all of the different yield opportunities, sort of filter it however they want, and then one-click deposit into those. So it's a really, really powerful product. And yeah, we're really excited about it. And we've seen a hell of a lot of interest from different partners. We had lots of really good conversations at ETH Denver, and there's just a lot of interest all around for that. So I think it's really going to be very beneficial, obviously for the sort of deep DeFi users being able to access these sort of vaults easier, but mostly for the newbies who really don't know what these all are and how to even get there. It really has broken down all those barriers, so we're super excited about it.
So to summarize and to visualize this for myself, usually when I want to, let's say I've got my funds on Solana and I see a good opportunity on, for instance, Sui, then I am going to have to bridge first I'm going to have to swap into either Solana or USDC or whatever that bridge accepts to port it to Sui. So that's a transaction. Then I have to send it to the bridge. Then I have to withdraw it from the bridge, which is, a third or fourth interaction by that time. Then I need to convert it into the currency that the yield opportunity accepts, and then I need to interact with the yield opportunity, basically. So that's 8 transactions. And you're saying that with Composer, I can just, say, all right, I've got PP Poo Poo coin here on Solana. I want to stake, something else on the Sui blockchain. Composer takes care of this, and I just have to send one transaction, basically.
Exactly. So you'll just sign sort of one transaction, and maybe it won't be sort of 8 steps. I think you can get there for slightly lower than that. But essentially what you're saying is correct. It'll be multiple steps. Normally you'd have to sort of interact with your wallets on the destination chain, do the actual interaction with the vault, and then receive those tokens back, whether it's a receipt token. There's sort of maybe 4 or 5 different steps that you'd have to take. And obviously a lot of fallout in those different steps. So, people might actually not end up going through with it, or there's various different things that can happen in between. But we essentially abstract that all away. User goes, I want to deposit $1,000 into this protocol, quick deposit, and we handle all of those different steps and that sort of interaction and that final deposit into the protocol. It's really, really strong, and it's an incredible product. So we're really excited about it and are pushing sort of quite heavily for integrations into sort of all these different neobanks and different applications. And also for the DeFi analytics platforms, it makes a lot of sense seeing all these different yield opportunities and then making it really easy for users to get in there.
If anyone watching this is building a multi-blockchain yield aggregator,
we are guys,
and you're integrating LiFi, then I want you on one of my next episodes and hear about your product because that's insane. Wow. All right. That's crazy. And you guys have done like 69 nice billion dollars of volume as of today,
Yeah.
or recently you passed that milestone. So you guys have been in the game, and people can actually use this, and be sure that they're not getting scammed. Like, you guys are really the established partner for many big platforms as well, like Ledger, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, we're pretty much in every major wallet, barring about two. And yeah, all the major protocols sort of all have us integrated for those flows. We've got around 800 B2B partners right now. So yeah, we're very, very strong, and our developer experience is incredible as well. We've had a lot of positive feedback on that. We've also just integrated, just sort of changed our docs to be completely AI friendly and readable. So we've also got MCP live, so agents can start to interact with our different API. So yeah, we're essentially one API to access all of these different products. Can't speak too much in depth about the rest of the products that we're bringing out this year. But yeah, I think sort of by the end of this year, we'll likely have the most comprehensive suite of products to access different DeFi opportunities. And yeah, it'll all be available sort of through our APIs. And yeah, so if you do have any questions or wanting to sort of chat and see how you can integrate, just get in touch. I'm more than happy to share our documentation. Yeah, but it's very, very sort of easy process and very reputable and robust infrastructure.
So, if you have to, put a percentage to it, how much of the usage is like, retail, how much is DeFi, and how much is traditional finance for, the volume that you guys are moving?
It's tough to say. We could probably dive into that a little bit deeper. But yeah, a lot of the volume is coming from wallets and the movement of sort of capital between the different chains within wallets. A lot of it is sort of deposit flows. So it's quite hard to sort of pinpoint because there's also sort of retailers all using, so LiFi itself is B2B. So we focus just on B2B partners. We also have our front end, which is Jumper Exchange, which is more B2C facing product. So that's where a lot of the retail volume comes in. This last month, Jumper did around half of the sort of overall volume. So it was pretty equally split between our B2B clients and B2C. Yeah, so that was around, I think we did around 4 to 5 billion last month. So I guess that's an easier way to split it. But between the distribution of different tools within our B2B offering, yeah, it's a little bit more tough to say. But yeah, sort of wallets are really, really a big driver of that volume.
Amazing. What's the craziest thing you have seen built with your infrastructure?
There's been some pretty cool ones. We've got some new agents that are doing, yeah, putting transactions through us. So that's pretty cool to see these sort of the sort of wave of agents coming into the crypto space, doing different allocation of different strategies across different chains, which I really like is sort of, having an agent that you can say, okay, cool, find me the top 5 different yield protocols and get me into them. And you could completely use Composer for that. So yeah, we've seen a lot of different interesting use cases like that, which is awesome. A lot of some people are using us for arbitrage opportunities as well across different chains. So that's been an interesting one that I've seen. And yeah, I think watching over the next 6 months is going to be probably the most interesting time we've ever had. Just seeing what people actually end up doing with these different agents, and Claude Code is taking the world by storm. And yeah, I'm really excited to see what actually happens within these next, literally probably 2 or 3 months. Actually, the speed at which stuff is going now. So it's gonna be awesome to see.
I was talking to a developer team, developer shop basically yesterday, and
Yeah.
the way they spoke about their AI agents and what they had running, and I got so nervous. I was like, bro, I'm so far behind on all this. I need to buy 10 Mac minis. I need to deploy agents everywhere. I need to start getting Codex, Claude, and this and that. It's so everything is it's accelerating at this crazy pace.
Exactly. Yeah. And
It's
I feel like in the last sort of year, 2 years, you could almost have not done much with AI and still been okay. And you would have been pretty much figured it out. It wasn't too complicated. You just had this chat interface. It was just a LLM. No sort of agents sort of living locally on your terminal and executing things on your behalf and having access to different sort of file systems and stuff like that. But in this last 2 months, I think if you're starting to miss what's going on here, I think you're going to have quite a difficult time with the speed that's now going to increase. I think now is the time to lock in for sure.
yeah.
Because if you stay up to date with what's happening now, I think the tools in your hand are very, very powerful. I was just actually at Mountain Dow, and it was really interesting to see the different sort of usage of AI there. And the co-founder Edgar has actually launched something called Pentagon, which was amazing to see in action. But it's essentially a way that you can coordinate various different AI agents together and essentially form little like squads. And you could have like one group of agents executing one thing. It goes to like a verifier and they check all of the work. Then it goes to the next stage and you can see it all pretty visually. It was so cool to see people just innovating with it, and it really taking down development time for medial tasks. The main theme, and just to sort of put everyone's mind to ease, is that no one uses these smart contracts. Well, at least they say they don't, which I was very happy to hear. It's more just the sort of medial things and like UI updates and all of those kinds of things. So yeah, it's been very interesting to see. And yeah, us at LiFi, we're really taking AI very seriously. We're integrating it into various different workflows that just need a little bit more automation to be more efficient. We've hired a head of AI and a workplace automation engineer. So we're busy working on sort of the various different functions that could essentially just be made a little bit more efficient through the use of AI. We've got a new friend called Steve, who's been added to as our first sort of AI employee, which is very interesting.
It's a good name.
Great name. And yeah, so it's been really cool to just see sort of different innovation also coming down from the team members, people experimenting. I had a colleague the other day send us a bot for, if you go into a conference, you just take the website link and just drop it to the bot, and it goes and scans all of the different speakers at the conference. Then it goes and finds all the different information through various different APIs and softwares, and then outputs sort of a Google spreadsheet with all of the different speakers, their contact information, emails. And it's just a really good way to sort of automate the outreach to leads that are going to be in various different meetups. And that's just one tiny little piece of the puzzle. There's so much more that can be explored. And so it's going to be really cool to see sort of which companies are really taking this with both hands and running with it. Because I feel like it's getting to the point now, similar to how I think banks and these institutions kind of have to integrate blockchain now. Otherwise, they're going to sort of fall behind. And it's almost like the ball's already rolling so fast that if you don't jump on, you're going to get left behind. And I think that's even more the case with AI, is that like people are moving so fast now, and they're sort of cutting out all of the medial things that took really long that can be automated very easily. And it's just freed up more time for everybody to actually work on big matters, things that matter. So yeah, I'm really excited to see where this all goes. A little bit nervous as well, I'm not going to lie, but I haven't downloaded any Claude Code onto my terminals yet. Waiting till
I was going to ask that. Like,
devices.
how do you leverage it? Like, do you have something running on your machine with all your sensitive information on the same? No.
No, I haven't downloaded anything on my machine. I actually used to use Claude to code, but before Claude Code, so it was just sort of doing everything very manually. I was building different like small MVPs and stuff like that. But yeah, I've seen how powerful it's gotten. It's really awesome. But yeah, I think the safety aspect of it is definitely the top of everyone's minds, and everyone sort of sees this power and is just very wary and careful about, okay, where is this actually being downloaded, onto what machines, what kind of access does it have, do we have enough barriers sort of safeguarding what needs to be safeguarded, sort of the final sort of processes. Yeah, everything has to be sort of human verified and secure. So yeah, that's definitely top of mind, I'm sure, for anybody who is using these tools so integrated into their lives.
I'm not installing a clanker on a device that also contains my credit card information. You know, wake up and say, "Oh, I bought you some things," and then wake see your entire account depleted. That would be horrible.
Yeah.
But I would be able to with you know, if I would have agents running, they would be able to navigate through all the blockchains using your guys' APIs, right?
Yeah, definitely. So that's also what we've been setting up in these last months, because we know that a lot of these different on-chain actions, and especially something I believe with DeFi and all these different vaults and the different ways that they work with, you can provide liquidity in certain bands, and there's liquidation thresholds, impermanent loss, all of these different factors makes it very complicated to actually wrap your head around what you're doing and what your risk profile is. And something like this, that's numerical and there's graphs and charts and analytics, this is all very easy for a computer to understand and to sort of test that risk appetite and understand it, and then allocate your funds efficiently and be able to make split-second decisions based on various different external factors to pull funds or to add more liquidity if you're going to get liquidated. And it's like, if you're managing positions across 20 different blockchains, you don't often know every single thing that's happening to that specific vault on that specific chain with your funds. So it's very difficult to handle. So yeah, we've seen this and we've been working on this for some time now. So yeah, there's going to be, I think, a lot of agents who are sort of interacting with us. One for the movement of funds across chain, then also with our composer, our new products that are coming. There's just going to be a lot of functionality that we give to agents, and essentially just you can know that your agent is essentially getting the most cost-effective way of interacting with all these different swaps, these cross-chain swaps, the pools, all through a single sort of API and interface. So that's really cool.
It doesn't pose like a infrastructural challenge. Like if you have, suddenly, a website where normally, 2,000 people per day would look at their DeFi positions for a few minutes. That's a whole different load than, a million agents watching everything happening all the time, full time. Like the data throughput it's going to be a huge challenge. Are you guys also scaling up massively in anticipation of this influx of traffic, or is it remain steadily, or what's your outlook on that?
Yeah, I think there's obviously going to be an uptick of especially people requesting quotes. That is obviously going to be, people just sort of seeing what pricing is across different swaps. The execution, I'm sure, is going to increase a lot as well. So we are scaling up our infrastructure to be able to handle these new loads. What's also interesting is the data availability, and I think a lot of these different protocols, like these sort of DeFi analytics platforms, they can actually potentially start monetizing outside of sort of subscription fees that they're charging to the user now, and they could charge per sort of ping that these agents sort of try and get information from them. For us as well, building different data APIs so that we are able to actually sort of surface different information about these different vaults cross chain, potentially the position P&Ls, liquidation thresholds. There's so much data that can be captured and displayed. So that's definitely sort of something that we're also focusing on them at the moment. And yeah, how we sort of I don't think it's a question across multiple different protocols is how do we charge agents and how does this actually work? You know, you've got your X402s and you've got different sort of methods and different subscriptions and stuff that you could charge. But yeah, I think it's going to be a new paradigm and it's going to take a lot of sort of trial and error by everybody to see, okay, cool, well, what does this actually look like? Once you do have 1,000 agents swarming your API, what does the interaction look like? So it's on the data capture side of being able to sort of see what's actually happening and what these agents are really interacting with. Are they just requesting for pricing? Are they executing, you know, as many trades? What is the actual behaviors of them? Because I think each bot and agent is going to sort of act completely differently based on the way that it's been built and sort of the outcomes that it's trying to sort of optimize for. So yeah, that's going to be really interesting to see from our side and from everyone's side. And yeah, how we can actually sort of build business models around these agents and see how we can sort of monetize and yeah, just make everything the most efficient and also not degrade any of the performance for everybody else who's using sort of blockchain and crypto as usual. So yeah, I'm really interested to see sort of how this all shakes out. But yeah, we're trying to sort of prepare on every single angle right now. Which is exciting. But yeah, it's a lot of work. And that's how we're sort of boosting out our sort of AI focused team so that, you know, we're watching everything from all angles. We've got some new people joining the data team specifically to, yeah, just to sort of make sure that all of the pipelines and everything are working, like sort of, and just, yeah, just scaling up and optimizing. So yeah, it's really, really exciting.
I did speak to the team I just mentioned. I spoke to yesterday. They are building some interesting stuff regarding this, so hopefully I can get them on next week or the week after. But yeah, I might be able to after the stream bring you into contact because they are solving, I think, some of the problems that you guys might come across. So yeah, I can't share too much because this is live, but yeah, interesting. So how big is the LiFi team? Because it is growing. LiFi, I should say.
Yeah. So we just actually hit 121 people. Was announced yesterday on our monthly call. We're scaling very fast. We have gone from around 75 to 80 to around 121 in less than a year, in around 9-10 months. So yeah, we're scaling very fast. We're onboarding new employees sort of weekly. We also have made some acquisitions of different companies, looking to sort of bring more capabilities in-house and have less sort of external dependencies. Obviously, with an aggregation model, you are reliant on sort of various other protocols for different things. So we're looking to internalize more of the stack. And yeah, we're doing so very efficiently. Our CEO has an incredible vision, and he's been making a lot of different moves and strategic decisions. I obviously can't speak too much about who and what and why, but yeah, we've been growing really fast, and it's been great. And a lot of sort of very talented people, completely worldwide, which is awesome. We have people just dotted all over the globe. So every conversation you have is so interesting. Such lovely people. So yeah, I've really enjoyed meeting all these new people. We've actually also got our offsite coming up, which is a 2-week period once a year that we all get together, have sort of a company retreat of sorts. So, and also brainstorming workshops, sort of coming up with the visions for each department and really just sort of meeting everyone in person. I mean, it's been really special going to the different events, be it Breakpoint, ETH Denver, sort of all of these different events that you go to, and then you meet different people from the team, and it's just awesome just jumping out of this sort of group chat and Google Meet screens to actually being in person together. And really, it's been incredible.
Yeah, I agree. Especially, the Solana events where I'm usually at, the vibe is so amazing, especially when you meet, coworkers or colleagues who you've worked with for several months and then meet for the first time. Yeah, it's really, really nice and really funny as well. Like some people you think, oh, they're probably going to be like 2'5", and then they actually are 4'3". Not calling anyone out, but you know who you are. All right. So is LiFi fully remote, or do you guys have an office somewhere?
Yeah, so we have an office in Berlin. So the company is registered in Berlin, well, in Germany, and we opened up an office around 3 or 4 months ago. So, but yeah, we are pretty much globally distributed. We've got people from South America. We've just got a new head of markets we're head of US markets based in New York, through the whole of Europe. Yeah, literally down in South Africa myself, down to Asia. We've got a full APAC team, led by Jiayu. So she's been sort of scaling up the efforts in those regions. But yeah, we pretty much have teams scattered throughout the world, 24/7 support, because we've obviously got clients everywhere. So yeah, we're fully remote, with a small sort of office in Berlin for the people that are that side of the world.
Now I know you're not, on the development team per se, but what was, if you know what it was, the biggest, like developer challenge or the biggest hurdle that LiFi had when building the infrastructure?
Yeah, so I think there's obviously with the way that we have built our stack is we had a diamond contract, and for every bridge that we integrated, we had to now build out a separate contract, or essentially like a plugin, and it just made the smart contract efforts pretty big within the company. So every new chain and sort of thing that we wanted to integrate, these contracts had to be deployed on the new chains, and it's made it pretty difficult to scale up. And we've done it very successfully, but I think that was obviously quite a big task for us, is smart contract work. So integrating with different with our new product that's coming out shortly, we're going to be sort of able to deploy onto new chains a lot quicker and easier. We've got different sort of systems that we have built out that'll sort of reduce the amount of overhead that we need for these new chain deployments, and to get capital to new ecosystems. I'm sure you've seen we've worked with the majority of the big chain launches this year as their day one partners. Traditionally, we've also had to, when we were just a purely aggregation model, we would have to wait for other protocols and teams to sort of deploy on chains before we can really have like a very strong until we were able to sort of function correctly. And that's been one of the big roadblocks that we've sort of been clearing is, okay, cool, how do we own enough and how do we build enough of the stack internally that we can actually deploy onto these chains a lot quicker and a lot easier without any external dependencies. So that's been a big unlock for us now. And keep your eyes out. We will be launching some big news in around 2.5 weeks. So no, 3 weeks. So I think you'll see what I'm talking about when that
you heard it here first. So in your opinion, because you guys deal with all ecosystems, all chains, or at least most of them, I think, is blockchain capital too fragmentalized? And are there like too many choices for retail, for institutions? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm 100% believer that we are just way too fragmented at the moment. I think when there was sort of the first L2 started to come onto sort of Ethereum, and there was this big sort of hype about all these L2s, then everybody started to develop them. There was all different chains launching, liquidity started fragmenting, and just there was no real use for these chains for a lot of them. Some of them were pretty like purpose built. But I think, that's obviously a huge issue. What we're up to around like 350 odd chains on the different tracking terminals. So there's a lot of different blockchains, and it's just too much for people to keep up with. Mentally, your capital, like you can't be distributed more. Well, for me personally, like I'm not going to be on more than 4 or 5 chains, and I never have been. So just as like a mental capacity thing for a person, there's too much going on. It also is really tough once the liquidity is there. If there's no people allowing it to sort of freely move back out to another blockchain when that sort of one is dying, it just creates a big problem. There's a lot of chains that launch and it sort of get a lot of TVL and then pretty much just die off because the retail users aren't there. They've made like a lot of different partnerships and stuff like that with different protocols, but there's no one actually using the protocols. So I think that's a massive issue. In saying that, I think there is a big positive for app-specific chains and sort of purpose-built blockchains that satisfy a very specific niche. There I can see them getting adoption, and then the interconnectivity between those chains and the other chains is obviously something that needs to happen, and that's where we step in, as we will sort of provide that layer to connect that new chain to everybody else, and that's where we're really strong. And that's obviously a big opportunity for us and also for those blockchains, is to be just as integrated as possible. But yeah, I'm not saying that sort of all new chains are negative, but there is currently a lot of fragmentation on a lot of chains that didn't really innovate anything. Would have just launched for the sake of launching, maybe not for the sake of launching, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make
and
some,
I think it's sort of
quick monies.
Yeah, and it's coming to like an inflection point that a lot of them are actually dying now and running out of funding. So the capital is sort of starting to shift a little bit, and the amount of like sort of functional blockchains is sort of, yeah, the old ones are getting pushed out, and I'm hoping that all of the new chains that are developed now are actually way more purpose driven. You look at like a hypercore built specifically for a trading venue, and that's been hugely successful. Yes, some of the interop was a little bit tricky with it, but those kinds of chains, bring them on. If the chain that the ecosystem you're looking to build on doesn't necessarily like fit your specific niche, you can look into building something. But yeah, I think there's obviously a huge issue with the current liquidity fragmentation.
I'm quite surprised by your answer, because for your business, basically, the more fragmentalized some the capital is, and it needs to be constantly bridged to back into whatever it does have activity. It is your bread and butter, basically.
Definitely, but if we are going from 350 chains to 100, the capital's still flowing between those different chains, and they're still using us to do that capital transfer. So the volumes will likely stay the same, if not go. Well, I'm very bullish. I think they're going to keep rising sort of exponentially as more people come on chain and more people start using blockchain. So the amount of integrations that we need to actually maintain, and different dexes on different chains and different bridges that are servicing them, then they're pushing and breaking updates, and then we have to update things our side. So having so many blockchains, and that's why we don't integrate that many chains. We're very selective of who we integrate. It's because it's a lot of overhead for us to manage that. So that's also what something is good about sort of using an API like ours, is that you sort of plug in one API, you get all of that functionality, and we're on the back end sort of making sure everything functions as it should, and make sure everything's updated. If there's a new DEX that launches on a new chain that's pulling a lot of liquidity because their pricing is way better, we integrate that DEX. There's a lot of different stuff that happens on the back end. But in terms of sort of the fragmentation of all these different chains, liquidity will always be fragmented between different chains, but it's just that selection and that number of chains that's going to change. So we'll always be that glue that sort of holds them all together. But yeah, having a sort of, in my opinion, having a smaller amount of more high performing chains, or with a high amount of users that are actually interacting with them every day, that's where I sort of see the end state being.
It would be great if we can work towards that. And then, I'm bullish on Solana. So having like Solana as the monolith, and then everything else moves through Solana.
Of course. Yeah, and I think it's going to be interesting to watch the sort of DeFi activity over the next sort of 2-3 years with this new sort of proposal for the inflation reduction. I think sort of, well, for me personally, I do take part in DeFi, but at the same time, like I can, stake my soul and make 7-8% on it per year. So for me to go find those opportunities in DeFi, I'm probably looking at a slightly more risky strategy, and without really digging in and like, really, I don't know, the risk profile for me compared to just staking it with a high performing validator that has pretty much 100% uptime, it's not really worth it. And now with this disinflation rates, we might get, down to like 2% in 2 or 3 years. So that shift of capital from staked SOL into DeFi, I think is going to be really interesting to see. So I think we're going to see a lot of the DeFi opportunities and DeFi sort of ecosystems in Solana scaling a lot. What I'm currently also working on now with our Solana dev team is how do we now build out composer flows to Solana and integrate all of these different DeFi and yield opportunities and make that available in one click from EVM. So now we can actually onboard a lot of capital from these ecosystems that historically have had most of the capital and make that a one-click, really interoperable experience for any of these users to actually interact with our local Solana sort of protocols and tools and yield opportunities. So that's one of our big focuses now, is working on that piece. And sort of as we see sort of stake coming out and interacting with DeFi ecosystems, all the capital coming over from Ethereum, different EVMs, and all of these different purpose-built blockchains as well. I think there's going to be a lot. It's just going to be a lot of activity, and I think Solana is in a really. I agree with you. I think it's in a really good place to sort of be that user-centric, high-performance blockchain that we've sort of always loved it for. And yeah, I think people are sort of starting to see that, Solana has proven itself now. In the beginning, we were using it, we were complete maxis, and all these different blockchains were just shitting on Solana the whole time. So it kind of felt
They
like
did.
They did, yeah.
I never noticed that.
It was so hectic, and I think it's like there's been a lot. I don't know. I've always felt like Solana was running its own race, and sort of fighting against everyone else. But now that it's sort of fully established, I think a lot of people are waking up to the fact that, having this interoperability to onboard capital from other blockchains is actually really important. There's not going to be one winner. There's going to be 20 to 30 winners, and the piece of the pie is going to be big enough for everybody to eat. So having this interconnectivity, if someone wants to bring their funds from Ethereum, let them. If someone wants to bring it from Arbitrum, from Monad, from anywhere, let them. It's like really easy. So you can make your app sort of fully Solana focused while opening up these channels for people to get their liquidity onto your protocol. So I think that's an interesting shift that I've also been seeing recently, is sort of starting to not think about so much as Solana in its own race, and now to start seeing as Solana as one of the winners. And how do we now make these interconnectable? And like people who are on Solana using Solana aren't going to stop using Solana because, people from EVM can deposit easier. It's just going to be very interesting to see. It's been an interesting shift to watch.
Yeah, I always thought that the tribalism and calling people, the R word, whenever they said something that was incorrect about Solana was not a good approach. I think we could have been and should be in the future be more welcoming to anyone who's curious about Solana.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So two-sided, So they were saying in retaliation to somebody else sort of shitting on Solana. So it was a little bit more understandable. Yeah, 100% agree.
I agree. So what are you most excited about when it comes to what Solana is shaping up to be? Like increased block size, reduced block time, increasing bandwidth, reducing latency. What caught your attention the most in the last 6 months, and what are you most excited about?
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of sort of stuff that's really exciting. I think I wrote about it in my write-up of Breakpoint. Something that was really exciting for me was to finally see sort of these institutions to stop sort of speculating and talking about how they were planning to do things and actually shipping things and launching it now. So it's been really cool to see that sort of angle of things really starting to kick off. I think OpenGlow should be a really good update for Solana as well. I run 2 validators myself, so it's been very interesting reading those proposals. And yeah, I think there's a lot of sort of positive changes and updates happening that side. I think, yeah, with different sort of, not quite sure how I feel yet about sort of these new forked validator clients being used for different perp dexes, but at the same time, I'm really excited about it because, you know, there are different priorities and maker priorities, taker, how they all interact with each other, cancellations of orders. Some people are really optimizing the sort of validator client for these sorts of applications now. So I think that's a really cool sort of innovation that people are doing, and sort of taking the Solana as it stands and then innovating certain aspects of it and then launching an app based on that. You know, so it's almost little tweaks to sort of the standard clients. So yeah, that's really interesting. Been very sort of in two minds as well about sort of seeing the validator set decline. There's been, yeah, just a lot of different opinions flying around about that. So that's been pretty interesting to see. Actually wrote an article about it, posted it around 3 weeks ago now, just on the various different sort of angles of why there's been such a decrease in the validator set. There's, yeah, just a lot of sort of factors at play. So yeah, I think just seeing mostly about DeFi, I'm really excited for. I feel like that's been one aspect that's been missing on Solana. We've had a lot of retail and a lot of sort of interest, you know, back from the NFT runs. I mean, you remember Solanart and Magic Eden, and those things were, it was crazy times. And then things move over to sort of meme coins. And I think that's sort of given Solana a slight, especially in the more sort of traditional worlds, a little bit of a sort of not tainted reputation, but more of a reputation of sort of retail users and a lot of like gambling and speculation.
Yeah, we got called the online casino.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, and we've got really reputable, big, innovative DeFi protocols on Solana that have been doing absolute wonders for our ecosystem, and also in examples for other chains, and people are starting, you know, so we're actually very developed on that side as well, but there hasn't been enough focus there.
Yeah, but it's also it also showcases the scalability of Solana and the throughput it's capable of. I mean, during the Trump and Melania launch, those, you know, we at Triton One, we have these metrics dashboards.
Yeah,
the numbers were off the chart. It was crazy. Yeah. The amount of RPC requests we processed without fail, I might add, was really, really good.
Incredible. Yeah, no, but I fully back that, because you need, it's a stress test. Super hyped NFT launches, these millennia coins, like we needed stress test on the network to see how it handles that amount of transactions and that amount of usage. So I think it's all been, I'm not saying any of it's bad, and also having the user base on Solana, you know, we can't say that that wasn't spurred on by these different trends. So the fact that we've got such a strong retail base for people to launch everyday user apps, you know, I'm not going to go launch an app that I want, you know, 20,000 users coming onto my platform every day on some sort of random L2. I'm probably going to launch it on Solana or Base, because that's where the users are. So we've got this user set on Solana. So it all is part of the picture. None of it's necessarily bad. I mean, we've both been in the trenches in both of those sort of times. But yeah, I'm really excited to just see this shift towards DeFi and sort of more capital flowing in, more institutions coming on, more sort of banks and payment providers all starting to integrate with Solana, and starting to see the more sort of blue chip projects really shining now and getting that attention that they've always sort of deserved.
Yeah, I agree. So we're coming up close to an hour already, and I know you have a hard stop in a few minutes. If you were to give advice to anyone building on Solana or wanting to build on Solana, in regards to integrating LiFi or in general, what would your advice be?
I'd say I haven't seen a chain with a foundation that is so supportive of new builders. If you are starting out to build, you've got a huge network of people that you can reach out to and get help from. I mean, the super teams are incredible. We've been working alongside a lot of the different super teams. And just the support level you get when you start to build is incredible. You've got access to, through Super Team Earn, you can go get grants, you can get bounties, you can sort of make the early stages of your company and your development much easier. You know, you can be supported through these teams. They are sort of king connectors. So if you need to get introduced to somebody, you get introduced through a super team. And sort of I haven't really met a community that is so active in helping people who are building new products. You know, going to somewhere like Mountain Dow, you go and sit there, there's 300 Solana builders that come together for an entire month, sit in a 24/7 office block. I mean, we were getting pinged at like, you know, between 1 and 5 in the morning with people arriving at the office to come start work. It's like, it's just crazy. So like, there's a lot of these sort of accelerators, Coliseum, and all of these different pieces come together. So I think the early stages of the company and forming that company and that idea are very well supported on Solana, which is really exciting. And I think it's given the sort of platform for a lot of new people to come in and actually just ship products and have that support system in place. So I think, yeah, first advice, get in touch with your super team, get in touch with somebody at the foundation, get in touch with people at Coliseum, just start networking and get connected through different people, make friends. Everybody is friends first, you know, so, you know, make friends with people, chat to them. Obviously, integrate LiFi. It's easy. Get our API in there. Our widget is super easy to integrate. Be connected to different blockchains. A lot of the sort of major protocols, you don't need to be fully Solana focused to be successful on Solana. You know, there's a lot of angles that you can sort of take this from. So yeah, I think main things is, yeah, build out your team, get really strong people together, go out there, network with super teams, get involved with these hackathons, build weeks, build stations. There's so much support out there. We will also be at the build stations this year, activating with Germany, Super Team Balkans. We will be out there in person. So if you do have questions, get in touch with me. Yeah, I'm always available via DM, Telegram, Twitter. Yeah, always happy to help, make connections. Steve is great here as well. So get in touch with him as well. But yeah, I think there's just so much support out there for people wanting to build on Solana. So yeah, just don't be hesitant and just start doing it and it'll all fall into place.
Beautiful. Thanks. And yeah, do get into contact with everyone. And if you need to find someone, either Justin or me, I highly recommend. And I might throw in some free RPC for teams that are bootstrapping as well. So if you're building for the next Coliseum Hackathon, keep that in mind. Thank you so much for coming on and telling us about the basically the spider in the web that's all Web3 with all chains, finding the most efficient routes across different blockchains, different trades. LiFi, really the plumbers of Web3. Yeah, thanks so much for coming on. And yeah, I hope to catch up in real life soon. And
Awesome.
For everyone watching, thanks for watching. And I hope you enjoyed the stream. I'll see you.